And we're live.
Are we live?
We are.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I am super excited. It's a little weird because I can't see you, but you can see just how excited I am. You can see my face. And what I'm excited about is to be able to be part of this moment with someone that I've known now for several years, Tevis Trower, and her team as well, Marjorie Spitz, Bryn Manino, and to be part of this moment, it brings me back. So I'm excited because I get to be part of this moment. And who am I anyway? Who's this woman that's so excited? My name is Jo Rencher. I am the founder and principal of WGN and HR Consulting. And Tevis Trower and I go back a few years, and I'm now part of this moment where she gets to unveil her next evolutionary turn. And the reason why that's so special to me is because she's always been evolving. And when I met her, she was evolving. And I didn't realize just how transformational she was as a leader until I got to know her. And that's important in these times because we're, dealing with crisis on top of crisis on top of crisis. And we need transformational leadership like this. We need the Tevis Trowers and the Marjories and the Bryns and the others of the world that bring to bear, the opportunity to actually not just survive through this, but to thrive through this. And we can thrive. And when I met Tevis, I was doing this kind of fledgling membership organization thing, and it evolved later, but I didn't know what it could be. And I met her first in Disrupt HR, where I got to see her live and in action, and all of the fire and the energy that she brings to everything that she does as it relates to culture and employee experience and all of that good stuff. But then I asked her to be a sponsor for the membership gig that I was doing. Again, very fledgling. And I thought, oh, she's going to show up as a sponsor and she's going to be this sort of like, she does the thing, she does her services, shares her services, she gets off, she hands it back to me. And she just kind of blew the whole thing away. She brought all of her. And she kind of showed that this topic of work life, managing work life and employee experience and culture, it's all part of the package. Challenging leadership. It's all part of the package of how we bring our best selves to work and get to that next level. It's not just one silo of a thinking or one functional area. It's the whole shebang. And it was a transformative moment that I remember. It sort of brought me back when I got to introduce her today to talk to her and her team. It brought me back to that moment. And I said, she's always been evolving. And so I'm excited to see just what's next. I'm going to be riveted to hear just as much as you all are, because I know that there's so much on the inside of her. And the team that she partners with through Balance Integration. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to her so that she can sort of open the window and see what's going on and hear directly from her, what's happening in the larger world. What are the trends? What's the market telling you, Tevis? And also, what are you doing about it? How are you evolving? And what's Balance Integration up to? So, Trower.
God, we just need an offsite. We need a trends offsite with some strategy folded in. So I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much, Jo. It's an honor to have you here because she says it was a fledgling event I met her at. This woman packed the house. So do not let her set low expectations because she's amazing. So as you know, I've been passionate since 2002 about for my whole life. Why do we get up every day and go to work, and why do we struggle so much, right? There are no bullets flying overhead. No one is dying of something in a ditch, ideally, right? Why do we struggle so much with work? And I felt that way as a corporate executive. I would walk around and we just see a lot of broken hearts about work kind of walking around around me. And I would also see something that all of us know, and that is that the fish rots from the top, right? So I didn't know how to teach transformation, but I knew that we could help people out with some pressure valves, right? Pressure valves in the form of meditation, pressure valves in the form of personal life choice management, pressure valves in that sense. And but the trends are interesting. Way back then, people were talking to me and I'd say all these things about culture and conscious management. People would look at me like I had two horns growing out of my, what are you talking about? And now, fast forward 18 years, 19 years, it's all over every other cover of HBR, of Forbes, of your LinkedIn wall. We have finally arrived, right? Now, the cool thing is, that stuff I used to talk about, I would use the word employee engagement back in 2003, and people thought I was, this is now common language. We have transcended the divide between well-being and what it is to go to work every day. It's now employee experience, and it encompasses the full breadth of all the human experiences that are drawn in to go to work every day. Now, here's kind of where the Balance team, we backed up and we thought about this and we thought, well, what are we really seeing? And how do we organize ourselves in such a way that we can meet what we're seeing in the marketplace? Point one, most of our HR partners and senior leaders that we have been working with over the 18 years have not needed all the data that's available to them. They have needed the data to get management, to get leadership, to get the C-suite to listen. So all the tiny pulse surveys, all the data, like the analytics stuff that we now have access to. I know a lot of my HR buddies and my senior leaders are sitting back going, yeah, we needed a survey to tell us this. And while there may be some surprises embedded in this, the interesting thing is that the convergence of access to linear data to validate what the subjective experience, the exit interviews, the buzz on the street, what the influencers are talking about within the organization is really pointing to the fact that these interventions for a long time have started through the side door. Right? You know that, Joe, right? My first clients, they had a little extra money. They'd write me a check for $30,000 and say, stretch it as far as you can, right? And we would try and make some magic happen, and we would get as much information as possible so that the HR person could say, can I have a little more? Look at what I did with 30. These days, what the data is pointing to is that the necessity to go right into the intervention at the top and then support it with programmatic structures, right? Support it with policy shifts, support it with the infrastructure, the scaffolding to get everyone in alignment and reinforce in terms of their behavior and choices. And that's really what we're doing at Balance. We're going to be dividing into 3 divisions. Bren is going to be running employee experience and well-being, both activations and interventions and strategies. Marjorie is my beloved. They've been with me forever. Like, honestly, I feel like I came out of the womb with them. And great people preceded them who continue to be hugely important to the firm. But Marjorie is going to be working on smaller businesses, and she will be working with them both on leadership alignment and coaching from that perspective and strategy. So she's got a lot to say about that. So I'm so thrilled because, yeah, we're doing a new website. It'll be out early, but we felt like it's December 1st. Let's show people how we are taking our own medicine. We're not just watching the changes. We're saying, what does this really mean about how we serve? So thank you. Joe.
That's so awesome. I love what you just said, which is you're taking your own medicine. I mean, it's easy to talk and advise. It's a lot harder to do and to actually embrace what it is you believe in and walk it out every day. So the fact that you're doing that and starting from the inside out is awesome. I mean, I think we need more role models like that in business, because if we don't get these areas right, you know, we don't stand a chance even in good times, much less bad times.
Exactly.
So would love to hear more, Bryn. It's an interesting focused employee experience and well-being. I think oftentimes people conjure up their own definition of what employee experience really means, and certainly what well-being means. Tell us what it means through your lens, and what are you going to be doing that's different and hopefully taking businesses and people to new levels.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that really sweet introduction. And I just wanted to echo what you did say about Tevis, about her constantly evolving and about this company constantly evolving. It's been such a pleasure to be part of this company, and anyone who is part of a company who is lucky enough to respond to the market and offer opportunities to anyone working for it to change along with it and learn along with it is so great. And so I'm excited for the role change. I'm excited to explore this division and to explain it a little more. I think when Tevis launched her company almost 20 years ago, and later when Marjorie joined, people really weren't where they are right now in the corporate community. They were beginning to embrace well-being in the workplace, but I think what Tevis and Marjorie have been doing all these years is really explaining to our clients what it takes to build these beautiful cultures where employees are happy and healthy. And it takes a lot. It takes leadership integration, and it takes strategic communication, and it takes cross-cultural, cross-departmental integration. And I think that at this point, though, the community knows, like Teva said, they're aware, they're ready, and they're aware, and they want to start building these cultures that embrace humanity and that attract amazing talent. And it's impossible to attract amazing talent these days without having these safe places to work. And I think that's the point of us breaking off, or me breaking off into this experience division, so that I could really work with these companies who are ready and get them started and get going. They know what they need. They're ready. They're resourced. They're willing, and they've accepted that they need to go in the direction of humanity, and they want the experiences to support it. And all these years, Tevis and Marjorie have been creating these experiences that acknowledge culture and well-being, both. And now I get to sort of bring them to fruition quickly and help these companies build these brands and continue to sort of sprinkle nutrients and water on it all year long, so that it continues to thrive. And so that's what I'll be up to. I'm personally excited about it because it's really a beautiful blend of my experience. I was in media and communications for 10 years, and so much of this is strategic communications and understanding how to get people to engage and how to get people to really listen and get them excited. I'm also a certified health coach. I'm a certified fitness instructor, and I'm very passionate about behavioral health. And so I'm just glad for the opportunity to be able to use it all and help people in any way.
Well, you bring a wonderful kind of well-rounded package to the conversation. I think people might want to know. Now, here's a ball that I'm going to toss to you, because I know you can answer. I know you can answer, Bryn. Which is, a lot of people want to sort of break down the concepts. When you go into a company and people talk about employee experience, well-being, balance, all of these conversations can sometimes feel a bit nebulous. Like, how do I even measure that? How do I even know that I moved the needle from here to there? What does that mean? Well, of course, everybody wants a great employee experience. Can you give like a sort of a nutshell answer as to how you're going to measure, or as a team, success would be measured under employee experience?
Yeah, I've always defined culture and well-being as when an employee feels safe and happy and valued and recognized at work, and when they feel excited to contribute because they're particularly aligned with the company's passion, and because they're particularly aligned with their role and their passion. Some of the ways we're measuring it at our current clients are by just making sure that there's plenty of opportunity for recognition for every employee. There's plenty of opportunity for connection. There's plenty of opportunity to learn and grow. The employee feels like the company values their journey as much as the company's journey, and creating the programs that sort of echo those values throughout the firm. And we measure it differently for every single program. You know, for some programs, there's so much more data to share. For example, an on-site health coaching program, there's so much engagement data to share. We can actually see which employees are using well-being coaches and which services they're taking advantage of and why. And for some, it's feedback. And but I think that there are some companies out there now, like HubSpot and you know, they're all over LinkedIn, and the reason they're all over LinkedIn and they're all over the culture sphere is because they've announced their values, and they've let it be known that culture is their priority, and that's how other companies are viewing them. So I think that's when you sort of know you've achieved success as a company, when you're a culture pioneer, when people say, people love working there. I want a job there because I hear it's a great place to work, kind of thing. Not to use great place to work, but yeah, when your reputation starts to precede you.
That's a good thing for sure. I mean, I think that's the surest sign when you sort of become a benchmark in and of yourself as a company. So Marjorie, talk about what your world is going to look like, because that's a big bucket as well. Leadership alignment and coaching. There's so much underneath all of that. One of the things that I keep going back to is what I saw. I just kind of refreshed myself on Balance Integration's website. You all talk about the body of culture being just beneath the surface. You know, that the balance way is like it's just there, and your job, your core processes are all about raising our water line, essentially. Our own water lines. How do you do that from a leadership alignment standpoint and a coaching standpoint, Marjorie?
Thank you, Jo. And just want to acknowledge how wonderful it is to work with these amazing women every day. I won't reiterate everything that's already been said, and the people that were previously part of the company. You know, scratching the surface is such an important yet simple thing to do, right? And you know, right now, looking at the landscape, looking at small businesses, because I'll be focused on small businesses, you know, they really are the backbone of the economy.
That's true.
You know, and I'm looking at them, right? And I've learned, especially during this time, right? And how difficult it is right now, and the magnitude of what they're being faced with right now. Unprecedented, right? And the resources that are available to them, you know, I value the big consultancies, but they're really not set up for small businesses, right? And who's going to be there for them? And that's where I can come in, you know, and I truly believe that to scratch the surface, it's a 3-part combo, you know, it's leadership coaching, it's business consulting, and it's implementation, you know? So it's not just handing off you're okay, we're gonna scratch the surface and let you go deal with it. It's really helping them understand the parts that might be scary, right? And the parts that might be challenging, and bringing them through a process in a gentle, safe, but unwavering environment, you know, because this is not easy stuff to do, especially if some leaders, some entrepreneurs, right, they want to invent, you know, they want to see their product and their service in lights. They don't want to worry about the people and the structure and the operations. And for me, this is bringing all of my skills together, because I was talking to Tevis and Bryn yesterday and recognizing, you know, this is actually in my blood. You know, my grandparents started a bakery in the blood, you know, that generation.
Where was the bakery?
It was called Shelvin's. It was in the Bronx, and I ultimately moved to Passaic, New Jersey, which was called Phil's Bakery. And to this day, people still recognize that name for all the Russian goodies they used to create.
Wow.
Yeah. And so between that and my father was running small businesses, my husband, it's part of who I am. So I'm here to say that I got their back, you know?
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, it starts with where they are, you know, where they want to go and what's happening, what's actually happening. Like, what's the reality here? You know, I'm not here to pretend that, you know, everything's okay.
Right. Yeah. I love the fact that I mean, it is in your blood. This is exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I mean, and what you said, by the way, about the small businesses and their vulnerability right now, and you know, so many have gone under and are not coming back, and others are hanging on by a thin thread. And to the extent that you can bring hope and life, you know, by kind of undergirding their operations and letting them see that, no, this is the sexy stuff. This actually is your lifeblood, you know.
Yeah.
If you get this right, I think that's a special thing. You're in your sweet spot, it sounds like.
Thanks. Yeah,
So,
I'm excited.
so now
I want to say I'm excited too, because it doesn't mean that we go away from each other. You know, because, you know, like Bryn's going to bring me in when necessary, and we're all going to be bouncing ideas off of each other. So you kind of get experts in each area, but you get the whole team. So it's kind of
yeah. Sounds like a smart business model. So let's round it out with our fearless leader, Tevis. What are you going to be doing through all of this?
Well, I'm going back to my roots in a lot of ways too, because that moment that I was standing on the in the elevator in AOL, and the cleaning lady got on the elevator and said, "Oh, good morning. How was your weekend?" And one of the C-suite guys got on the elevator and stared at the wall.
Oh.
I went back to everything I had learned in the Army, everything I had learned. I'm a beauty school dropout. I've been freaking everywhere, Joe. You know that. And one thing I've seen is that great culture starts with great leaders, and great leaders are built from the inside out, right? And what has happened, and it's all part of a developmental cycle. I'm very clear on that. But this trajectory of, okay, we're going to have an HR person and they're a bean counter at first, and then we make them into a cultural stakeholder, and then we call them a people officer. Maybe we have a separate, and we make them part of the C-suite, right? But in that trajectory is all embedded an inclination towards outsourcing of the human problems at work. Right? We're real C-suite people, so we'll get another C-suite person, and they'll solve all the people problems because we have real work we have to do. And what I love about both the data that is coming forward through the analytics and the pulse surveys, et cetera, is it's really bearing out. No, greatness is everyone's job. And greatness is not a metric of your bottom line, right? It's not. And oftentimes the human aspects of greatness are not reflected in KPIs. They're not reflected in performance conversations with your boss, et cetera. So through my experience coaching both C-suite and high performers, what really became clear to me was that we could create all kinds of lovely pressure valves for these organizations. And we could actually stave off some attrition, and we could actually bolster performance, and we could mitigate claims and premiums. But the real question is, if we begin these relationships by talking about how do we foster these skills, upskill the people at the very top, because everyone's talking about the empathetic organization, the compassionate organization, right? The human, the vulnerable, the blah, blah, blah. Everyone's talking about it, and we all have heads nodding, right? Everyone sits around these Zoom rooms, and we all go, yeah, we need empathy. Right, oh yeah, we need compassion. But here's the thing. No one thinks they're the problem.
Right.
We're not empathetic. I really hope Bob gets his ass handed to him because he's such a jerk, is what we're really thinking, right? And so the work I've been really passionate about throughout this 18 years is when I sit down with leaders who are either in a moment or already predisposed to ask themselves these hard questions, and to dive into that question of greatness and impact. That in having that conversation, we automatically unearth questions around empathy, compassion, values, legacy. Because I don't know about you, but most of us get into this climbing the ladder game. And I don't care if you're nonprofit, I don't care if you're a journalist, I don't care what you are, but most of us aspire for greatness, not just because of the perks and money and power, but we actually want to see what we're capable of in terms of benefiting the world. And so that, by virtue of having such a fabulous team and really having the space to back up and look at this, it is really clear to me that if we want to look at where culture conversations are going, in very short order, they will no longer be at the hands of a director or a well-being someone. They are going to be starting with an intervention at the top, an engagement, an upskilling at the top, that then becomes a series of programs and offerings that impacts every aspect of the business and the employee experience, because you cannot separate out the business from the employee experience. It's one and the same. And we all know that now. So that's where we're going.
I love it. I love it. And I hope that there are HR people leaders listening and watching, because I've said for a long time now, I mean, a long time, well over a decade plus, that the people best positioned to embrace what you just described are often the chief people officers and the CHROs and the VPs of HR that don't necessarily see themselves as being able to aspire or wanting to aspire to the top seat. They bring that whole package. Those that understand business leadership and people leadership and the marriage of those two, they're well positioned to lead and to run companies all day long. So I hope that this is inspirational, even though that's not the purpose of this particular evolution. I hope it's inspirational to those that might be watching in the field. What you just said is a big deal.
Well, and I want to yes and you, because that is absolutely in alignment with, I think, what we've seen. We've been involved in think tanks, thought leadership. I've done so many, I guess you call them a fellowship around the question of leadership, et cetera. I've done CEO roundtables. No matter where I go, there's this thing that oftentimes the people who are most deeply charged with these responsibilities are least empowered.
Yeah.
To take action and to drive compliance and alignment throughout the actual C-suite. And so the question really becomes, one, what are those people doing to take care of themselves? Because that's a broken heart every day at work.
Yes.
Right. Once you get over the high of, wow, I finally got a chief people officer, chief culture officer title, and I got the money and I got a team. Once you get over that and realize you're being hung out to dry.
Yeah. It's soul crushing. It's a soul crushing experience. And I think the work that you all are doing is going to make a dent in that and then some, because you're going to work across in what you just described, across the whole C-suite and leaving no man or no woman behind. So I think there's an exciting turn, and I'm privileged to be part of this, even in the kind of unveiling of it. I don't know if we have questions that are coming in. I can't see.
I don't see any. I'm curious because on Facebook, sometimes the questions on Facebook won't come through, and sometimes a question on LinkedIn won't come through. But we can promise everyone, since we're not seeing them here on screen, we will absolutely circle back and look across all the platforms for any questions that we're missing.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. I know you will be scoping those out to make sure that you catch any that come in, and just encourage everyone to engage with these ladies, these sort of warriors, these trailblazers, because there's a space here for some really good conversations and partnerships and new relationships, and I'm just excited to see that unfold as we leave 2020, which has been a big punch in the face for all of us, and position ourselves for something better. I don't care what it holds. I think we have some real power to shape something new and exciting, and that's exactly what you all are doing with Balance Integration. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Jo, and thanks.
All the best.
Thanks for taking time, because you are one busy person as well. So thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We're all busy, but we carve out the time for the things that matter, and this definitely mattered. So, and here's a question before we wrap. The Chief Wellness Officer role, should it exist?
That is a great question. I'm gonna tee off, and then if Bryn or Marjorie want to dive in, I think it depends on the organization. It depends on the size and what the other C-suite positions are. Trend-wise, what I'm seeing is that all of that is falling under a chief culture, chief people kind of role. That doesn't mean it's right for every organization to do it that way. And so that's one way to look at it. The other way is, what is the need of the population, right? If you've got a large population that is confronted with specific challenges, it may in fact warrant a specific position. Also, how do you define that? Do you fold in the concerns about the built infrastructure, the facilities, with respect to COVID, with respect to any kind of geopolitical instability, et cetera? So I think it's a great question, and I think it's a question that when asked by an organization, all those things should be weighed. It should be a top priority of the entire organization, not only because of productivity and claims, but also because you're going to lose people. So, Brent, do you want to add? I'm sorry.
Sure. No. I think it's a great question. I think it goes back to what Tevis, you were saying a few minutes ago about, once you get that chief people officer role, once you get that CHRO role, I mean, what happens next if everyone's not on board, if leadership isn't entirely integrated? So of course we want to encourage roles like that. And I've been hearing some chief kindness officer as well, but it becomes dangerous to isolate the responsibility of creating a culture in one organization to one person. So I think it's better that it comes from everybody at the top. I think that it's an important differentiator in terms of language, how you're speaking, about the organization. Are you saying the chief wellness officer is launching this initiative, or are you saying that the organization is launching this initiative? So you just have to be sort of aware of that isolating language.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. I agree with what both of you are saying, is that in addition to integration, commitment, meaning that, I wouldn't take that job unless the C-suite committed to you that they're going to model behavior and reinforce behavior, and it's not a check the box kind of thing. Yeah. Otherwise, like we all talked about before, I'll be a lot of brokenhearted people sitting in that position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's interesting about this whole concept of wellness, well-being, being whole at work, is that we have to be careful not to try to create any sense or perception that there's a utopia that can exist at work, or that you can bring, you can create an environment or some sort of bubble where people can show up and feel like all the problems will be solved or all their issues will be addressed. What we have to recognize is that there's a collective power in creating a healthy environment and a healthy culture, a well-being, sort of mindset. But in some cases, people are going through things that no program, no initiative can fix. Death of a loved one from COVID, mental health issues, suicide ideation. They're real problems right now that are bearing down on people, the likes of which we haven't seen before. And so in some sense, we have to let people know that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And sort of help them not stay in that place by, offering them the tools and the strategies to make that turn, and then helping leaders show up so that they don't make the matters worse, that they're creating the right culture and the right environment so people can heal, and not be beat up when they come to work or log on to a Zoom screen. So it's a tricky balance. Hence the word balance integration, huh? How's that for a setup? How's that for a setup?
We're going to recruit you, Joe. Be careful. Don't hang out with us too much.
Well, that was a great question. Having not seen any more come through, at least from what we can tell, we'll definitely, I know you ladies will reach out and look at the platforms and respond to questions. And so with that, I wish you well. And I can't wait to see how you're going to transform your corners of the world, because we need it.
Yeah,
we
we
need
do.
it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Everybody. Thank you, Joe. Thanks, team.
You're having us.
Have a great rest of the day for everyone.
Bye, everybody.